Mark Kelso on the line right now. Mark, good morning.
Good morning, guys. How you doing today?
Good. Well, listen. What do you think? What's happening? And was there really a meeting recently where the owners held a meeting with players and not the coaches?
Yeah, I'm not at the facility every day, so
Yeah.
I can't confirm or deny that. I mean, I understand there was some meeting between the Pagulas, and I'm not sure if it was both Terry and Cam. And
Yeah.
some players, I can't imagine it was an entire team meeting that went unknown to Rex. I mean, he would know about something like that. But apparently there was some meetings between players and ownership.
So, what are your thoughts? Rough start underway here. What are you thinking? What are you seeing out there?
Yeah, no question, a rough start. I mean, offensively, I don't think they've had a rhythm. And, if you look at numbers and sometimes you look at statistics, and Tyrod's statistics don't look they don't look unfavorable, but I don't think he's played near the level he's capable of, certainly. But the offense really just hasn't had any rhythm. And they've gotten okay protection from the offensive line, but they haven't been able to make any gains in the run game, and they really haven't kept the defenses off balance, neither the Baltimore or last week, when they were playing at home against the Jets and against a really good run defense, but they didn't keep them off balance. I mean, they didn't seem to move as much pre-snap as they typically do, which creates some leverage advantages and gives them an opportunity to move the football and put themselves in some advantageous positions. So from an offensive side of the ball, I mean, that's where you're at there. And defensively, last week it seemed like they sat back an awful lot. And Ryan Fitzpatrick and that group from New York just kind of carved them up. And typically they bring pressure. They did not bring as much last week as you would expect a Rex Ryan, Rob Ryan-led defense to bring.
Yeah. And it came there. They had a bit of a comeback. It came at a really good time. That's when you want your team coming back and towards the latter part of the game. But then it just there was a relax and the Jets came right back.
Yeah, I mean that score reminded me a lot of that New England game last year, early in the year, when really the score was no indication of how soundly they were beaten. I really felt like the Jets controlled the game. I mean, they could do what they wanted offensively at will against the Bills defense last week, or so it seemed. And then offensively, again, the throw to Marquise was a really good throw, and certainly the play to Greg Salas was a good play by Tyrod because he escaped, but it was a broken play, and the Gillislee touchdown was a 5-yard, 6-yard pass that turned into a 30-yard touchdown. So, I mean, if you take those plays out of it, it makes the statistics look pretty pedestrian.
Manaski was just talking about this weekend's game being a tough game and a tough position for Rex Ryan. A lot of people saying they don't think he's going to make it out of week number 4. I don't want to put you on the spot, but it's every game from here on down the road is a biggie.
No question about that, and I'm not going to speculate on that stuff. I mean, that's the owner's decision. I'm a guy who likes continuity, and I would not have been in favor of the Greg Roman firing. I don't know what was going on internally there. Maybe there were some conflicts internally that the public nor myself knew about. But when you have continuity, I think you have an opportunity for players to grow and you develop the offense through the course of the season and continues to get better. And then when you start to change things too often, just because of some bad performances, then I don't think that makes for a favorable outcome in the end. But hopefully it will in this case, because that's the decision they made. But they have more of a crisis of confidence, I think, than they have a football crisis, because I think they have a lot of talent on that team and they have some leadership. They just have to put it together and be efficient with it. And would Rex make it out? I'm not going to speculate on that, but certainly this becomes a very big game. I know they had high hopes for maybe cracking that playoff drought that they've had, and they're going to have to win one of these. If they go 0-3 or 0-4, the chances of making the playoffs would virtually be lost.
Talking with the one and only Mark Kelso, the Buffalo Bills. Mark does color commentating on the radio games. Of course, a former Buffalo Bill himself. And Rex Ryan, is there a lack of discipline? We saw it a lot last year, and not so much this year, just with stupid penalties. But is there a lack of discipline?
I don't see that. I mean, last year I know there were a lot of penalties, and they needed to clean that up. And I can't recall how. I think there were quite a few penalties against Baltimore. I don't think last week against the Jets there were too many. But they've got some good internal leadership. I think Tyrod is a very good leader. Preston Brown had emerged as a really solid leader last year, and I think he's picked up right where he left off last year. Kyle Williams and the senior statesman on that defense. I mean, he has stepped up and to be a more vocal leader. He's always been a good leader, a quiet leader, but has taken a more vocal role of late. And they've got some guys on the offensive side of the ball as well that Eric Wood steps up a lot. So, I mean, I think they've got some good leadership in the locker room, and that's where you need it. I mean, it needs to flow from the head coach through the locker room, and I think they've got that situation settled, and that doesn't, I mean, the reason they're playing bad is not because they don't have good leadership in the room and not because of lack of want to. It's just lack of execution, lack of creativity maybe on the offensive side of the ball, and attention to detail. I mean, if you're off just a tick, then you're going to get beat. These teams are getting paid a lot of money, these guys on the other teams, to beat you, and they're good players. And you know, if you try to execute something and you don't do it precisely and with great precision, then you're not going to be successful.
Yeah.
You know, Mark, you talked about maybe a lack of confidence or continuity here. You know, they do have, as you mentioned, good players on offense. Where's Sammy Watkins been, though? He's really been missing from the offensive pieces here over the first couple of weeks.
Yeah, and I think Robert Woods has been missing too. It hasn't had too many targets, but and I really like what he can do as well, particularly in an intermediate game. But they have to do things to put the ball in the hands of their playmakers, and they need to figure out a way creatively to do that. And I think, you know, even the teams that people would feel that are the best teams in the league and teams that are consistently good or have been over the last decade are guys that create ways to get the ball in the hands of their playmakers. And it can be simple things. A lot of times it's just window dressing, but if you're moving pre-snap, you're working out of a stack or you're working out of a cluster, 2 or 3 receivers, then you have an opportunity to free those guys up at the line of scrimmage and give your quarterback an early opportunity to get rid of the football. And that's some of the things they need to do. And I think they had been doing some of those things, but sometimes when you're not successful, you tend to kind of pull the reins back in and let's simplify things. But in the course of simplifying things, it makes it a little simpler for the defense to diagnose as well, and then they can make some plays. But you just gotta find creative ways to do it, and that's what these other teams find. I mean, Arizona, for instance, coming into town this week. I mean, Fitzgerald is a guy that they continue to get the ball to, and I don't think he has the breakaway or the straight ahead speed that he had when he was younger. But he still finds ways to get open across the middle, and a lot of pre-snap movement, and they line up in cluster formations an awful lot. And when you do that, you create some advantages in the blocking scheme for the run game, and you also create an opportunity to free those guys up, like I said, so that the quarterback can get rid of the football in about 2 seconds.
You know, the Bills, we've talked about this, and we've as fans, we've talked about it for several years since Jim Kelly. Bills looking for that franchise quarterback. And Tyrod Taylor seems to be like the guy that could be that guy. Isn't this an opportunity? I mean, you're 0-2. What an opportunity for him to really step up into a leadership role here. Or has he done that and we're just not seeing it?
I think he's done it. I just don't think we've seen the fruit of it on the field yet. And hopefully that it'll bear some fruit. But I think he took a leadership role during the preseason and in training camp. And he controls that offense. There's no question about it. And he's a guy that's going to make sure those guys are accountable. And I think to a man, they want to be accountable. It's just, you talk about not making a play. Guys on the other side of the ball getting paid an awful lot of money to make those plays too. And if you're not doing everything exactly right and you're not functioning as a unit and as a team, particularly offensively, if the guy's open downfield but you don't have time to throw because the protection broke down, you're going to have a problem. And if the protection is there but guys can't get open early or you don't run the right route or you don't attack the correct hip of the defensive back to create that separation out of the break and give Tyrod an opportunity to see that and throw the football, then you're not going to be successful. So it's just those little things. You got to continue to work on the little things, make all the little things right, and then, in the end, the big picture will end up in a victory.
This would be a lot more enjoyable if we were 2-0 right now, this interview. Be a lot more fun. Be a lot easier, right?
I don't know if I'd talk any differently because when you're 2-0, you say you're 2-0 probably because you've been executing well and because you're doing things efficiently. It's executing fundamentals efficiently. It's what I'm all about and what I believe wins and what I believe the best teams. And if you look at the New England Patriots that's what they do. They execute the fundamentals just beautifully, and they do it consistently year in and year out. And they find ways to put the ball in the hands of their playmakers and get rid of the football really, really quickly. And you can look at other teams around the league that do the exact same thing. The Packers or any team that you consider to be good on an annual basis. But it would be a better interview or more exciting perhaps. But you'd be worried about, look, if you stop doing those things even for a minute, you have a chance to get beat, and that's what makes the NFL so great.
Hey, quickly, Bruce Smith, number retired. Big moment for the Bills. Big moment for Bruce Smith.
No question about that, and kind of it goes back and celebrates the success that the Bills had throughout his career, and he had a tremendous career, and I think he points out, and I think in proper fashion as well, the guys that he played with that enabled him to do the things that he could do as well, and he has great regard for his teammates. He was a great teammate when we played together, and worked extremely hard. And things people talked about his practice habits and different things of that nature. Which he was in the weight room and on that stairmaster constantly, just making sure he was in top shape. And the way he studied film about the opposing offensive tackle and the offensive line, and even comprehensively to see what they were going to do to scheme against the blitzes that we might try to execute with him and Cornelius and Darryl and all those guys up front, and Phil Hansen. There's a lot of guys that had really good, were really productive on that defensive line. But it was an honor that was well deserved and able to celebrate the history of when Bruce was here. And I thought the crowd was fantastic last week. I hadn't heard it that loud in years when the team first came out to the field. But it certainly was deflated early in that game. But certainly it was an honor that was well deserved, and it was nice to see that celebrated by the fans of Buffalo.
An interview I saw with Bruce Smith, he said he works out 5 or 6 times a week, but there's not a day that goes by that he's not in pain. I've heard other NFL players describe Sundays as like a car wreck every week. So my question: how do you feel when you get out of bed every day?
I feel great. Is there anybody in their 50s that doesn't have pain every day when they
You're
work
absolutely right. I don't get it. I don't play football, and I have it's just walking down those stairs. It's a rough moment. It is.
There you go.
All right.
There you go. But you still got to do it, though, right?
Still got to do it. Got to do those stairs.
And he's in great shape, but certainly took he had a lot of hits on his body. There's no question about that.
Mark Kelso, always great to have you on. Thanks so much, and go Bills.
My pleasure, guys. Have a great day.